And from CBS News, YouGov shows President Trump struggling in 3 states that he won in 2016. He's tied with former Vice President Joe Biden in Arizona, 46% to 46%, a state he won by 4 points in 2016. In Florida, Trump's down 48 to 42, a state he took by 1 point in 2016. And in Texas, it's Trump's 46 to Biden's 45, a result, of course, well within any margin of error. If Texas, clearly a swing state this year, turns blue, it would be the first time Democrats took the Lone Star State in a presidential election since 1976. For a closer look at the coming Trump-Biden face-off, we want to bring in our political panel this hour. Tom Borelli, a NewsMax insider and contributor with America's Voice News. Also, Laurie Watkins, a Democratic strategist and former Obama advisor. Welcome to you both. Excited to get your thoughts here. Tom, we'll start with you. How much are you reading into these polls?
I'm not really reading much into these polls. I feel like Yogi Berra, remember deja vu all over again in 2016. Hillary Clinton was way ahead in the polls, and look what happened. We have President Trump in the White House. In some ways, I think this is good because the worst thing you want to do is be complacent. I think polls like this really energizes the Trump base, and I think that what we're going to see. And most importantly, the election is going to come down to policies. When you're looking at Texas, Biden wants a new Green Deal light program, and Texas is an energy-producing state. When they find out that Biden wants to jump back into the Paris Climate Accord and wants to essentially regulate fossil fuels out of existence with zero net emissions of carbon dioxide, President Trump is going to win Texas, and he's going to win it big, as well as those other states, because when you really boil it down, former Vice President Biden, he's really a fraud. He likes to plagiarize, doesn't have any of his own ideas. The American people are going to find that out very soon.
All right, Laurie, I'll have you respond to that. Of course, keep in mind, we are 3 months out from the election. A lot can happen. Do you think we'll see Biden making his progressive stances a little bit more prevalent here? Will we hear from him as he tries to win over those voters who might have previously voted for Bernie Sanders?
I think you'll see Vice President Biden as the candidate work his magic with as far as communicating these policies. But I think what's very interesting is in all the states that you mentioned, there are incredible amounts of down ballot candidates that are also communicating the same message. I think this is going to come down to healthcare, the COVID response, and the economy. In those 3 states you mentioned, they have the highest rates of infection, positive cases. The economy is starting to seriously take a downturn in those states because businesses were told to open, then they're told to close again. Then they're told to open and close again. You've seen these numbers start to change in these states because people are suffering, and the president has not communicated a plan, nor has his administration. And now we're going into where they want to open schools, and people are terrified, and you're going to see these numbers continue to change. But as my fellow panelists said, it is a bit early, and we'll see what happens. But strong moves for the Democratic Party.
Okay, President Trump has seen the poll. Here's what he says about his odds in Texas. Listen to this.
We would have had millions of people out of work. I saved it. And then they say I'm leading by 1 point in Texas. They said it last time, too. They said Texas is too close to call. They're phony polls. They're suppression polls. But to think that after saving the oil and gas business and millions of jobs, I'm leading Texas by 1 point, I don't think so.
All right. As Laurie mentioned, a lot of things to consider, the economy being a huge factor here. Tom, do you think the president is potentially more equipped to rebuild it as he's promising to do so?
Well, I'm not sure. Just look at the record. President Trump has really built a tremendous economy till we had the Black Swan event from China. And remember, former Vice President Joe Biden, he wasn't for closing our border with China when we knew the virus was coming in. But going back to President Trump, he had the lowest unemployment rate for blacks, Hispanics, women, military. He did it once, he can do it again. He just needs another chance, and the American people are going to give him that chance.
All right, I want to switch gears, talk to you about the topic of mail-in ballots, and show you something that President Obama actually tweeted out yesterday. He said voting by mail shouldn't be a partisan issue, especially during a pandemic. Everybody should be able to request an absentee ballot and make their voice heard in every election. And Laurie, it's really not absentee ballots that are the issue here. Absentee ballots, they've been used successfully for years, including by President Trump. It's that mail-in voting that's being debated here. What do you think President Obama is really trying to say?
Encourage everyone to request a mail-in vote, a mail-in ballot, and that's what it's going to come down to. Here in the state of Florida, I can tell you that over 1 million voters have requested a vote by mail. I myself received one in the mail just yesterday for the August primary. They're coming earlier than they have ever before, and it's up to these two parties of who is going to get out the message, whether that's reminding voters that they need to request that and providing them information, because voters are having to change their habits if they aren't used to doing that in the past, and then turning out the vote. It's all about the get out the vote. But the more people that request their vote by mail, the safer they're going to be, because as we've all seen, the fluctuation of the up and down going back with whether people are staying at home, whether things are reopening. I know voters do not want to leave it up to chance and put themselves at risk by waiting in line on Election Day.
And Laurie, you're talking specifically about those requests made by voters to receive their ballot by mail, which is absentee voting, and that's been going on, for many years prior to the pandemic, of course. And Tom, as we've spoken about many times before, there is the difference between requesting an absentee ballot and then sending out mass mail-in ballots to people without confirming they are who they say they are and they are where they actually live.
No, Emma, you're absolutely right. There is a certain difference there. And really what former President Obama is really recognizing is that Joe Biden doesn't have a chance. The only way he has a chance is if Democrats cheat. And we know by carpet bombing mail-in ballots, it is the best way, opens the door for massive cheating. It's hard to keep the integrity of our system intact when you can't have that voter integrity really monitored. There's voter rolls in states are horrible. In Los Angeles, they're now removing something like 1.5 million people from their voter rolls. So carpet bombing ballots is just a horrible idea for our democratic process of electing people.
Final comment from Laurie, and then we got to go. Yep, go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to add that I don't think the president and the GOP is doing themselves any good here by continuing to relay the message that this is all about fraud. They are hurting themselves by not encouraging their voters to request by mail, because that is, in fact, how this election is going to be won.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Laurie Watkins, Tom Borelli, thank you for coming on today and sharing your thoughts. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Emma.
You got it. Coming up next, an update on the coronavirus and also this more violence against police. 2 officers shot dead in Texas. The fallout when we come back.